September 13th. I'm Saba Hussain. Um, I'm a director in school finance. I have with me Adi and Irene. Irene's on my team and Adi's on the AZ's team. And I forgot one thing. Start again. Sorry. Well, this is good. Get all of the. There we go. I usually like to do housekeeping for a minute anyway, so people can hit refresh and get into the session. So that's fun. Sorry about that. If you haven't been here before, the video you're looking at looks like a YouTube video, but we're not going to be monitoring the comment section down at the bottom. Instead, if you look at the top of the video, it says ask a question at slides.app.google/VJRDM. That's the URL where my little question answer tab comes from, and so you saw me pause for a second to load the question answer tab. I'm sorry. It will display whatever your Google login is. So, for example, if you're a really big Disney enthusiast and your little user profile photo is Gaston or something, and you don't want your friends in the education community to know that, you can always log in anonymously. If your question is super specific about SDER or something, I might ask some more things about your district. So you can log in from a separate browser or a separate device or just in a second tab. Now it should work. A few people had trouble last summer, and unfortunately the Google help desk couldn't really get us answers. The only trend we found was that it was users using their phones for the Q&A that were getting them kicked out of the Q&A. So I usually just keep it in a separate tab. So hopefully that's it. If you haven't contacted school finance before, our primary job here is to disperse state aid payments to school districts and charters and use student data for that, but some other data points as well. So you can always reach out to my team if you have questions about data and payment. Sorry, I was racing through this one because exciting day, busy day. We plan a Wednesday workshop for the end of October for anyone who's super new here and is struggling with understanding AZs and what kind of responsibility they have. I want to quick walk you to the content of that workshop in case you're deliberating whether or not you want to come or you think you might need it. So if you haven't been to the ADE website before, it's az.gov, so AZEV like Arizona Education. The blue menu at the top is the Arizona, the whole ADE menu. The light blue menu is the specific page menu. So it is schools and teachers, school support, school finance. So school, like 3 right turns. That gives you to az.gov/finance. In the Knowledge Center is kind of archived videos at the end there. So there's a video about just top-down AZ's integrity, AZ's submission. There's a couple of handouts. If those don't help you, or if that's not a medium that works for you, you can always call my team, and then we'll walk you through the same thing. And if you can wait all the way till the end of October, we'll have a. If you can wait all the way until the end of October, we'll have a training session then. You're right, the volume is really low. 1 second. Is this any better? I hope so. We used to have 3 microphones in the room, and now there's only 1, and it looked like someone had turned down the volume on that microphone. But I'll still use an outdoor voice. Sorry. Thank you. Somebody commented that it's hard to hear. There's some changes to our website, and I kind of want to walk you around. And we plan to open SDER today for districts. So if you watch, there'll be a hot topic. So let me walk you to our website again and kind of show you the changes. When you're home on our webpage, it shows you the most recent 10 hot topics. And so later today, that's where you'll see the SDER hot topic. Come on now, home. There it is. So this is where you'll see the SDER hot topic once it's there. We're just opening it for districts to submit their teachers and their experience so we can calculate teacher experience index for A4. The new section is when you go looking for anything to do with AZEDs, we've made an AZEDs page. So I'm going to try to get there using those kind of calendar forms. So on the form page, there's, for example, a form about calendar access, and we moved it to an AZEDs page. And I'm so sorry, it's very dense and it's very dry, but we're finding that the number of things that we needed forms for was getting pretty complex, and so we wanted to just walk people through what and why and where. Let me zoom in for a second. There you go. So there's links to AZED's documentation, how do you even get AD Connect or AZED's access, and then some of the different forms you might need to send to us, just because we're explaining it a lot of times, so we wanted to centralize it and kind of get an explanation. We did add a couple of additional forms because there were some changes this year. And the change is primarily to the word track. In prior years, we had available a menu of tracks and some basic allowances saying you can do this, you can do that, and then a district would participate by choosing certain tracks from that menu. This year, EdFi also has instructional calendars now, so it's built into the core of the shape of EdFi. So to align with that, we have calendar codes. And the calendar code is the unique identifier for a code. And by unique identifier, I mean name. For example, my name is Saba. So calendar code is as unique as my name being Saba, like that. There are calendar types, and so that's where the menu is now, where before we would have said track 1, track 2, track 3. Now we have a 5-day calendar for all students, a 3-day calendar for CTED students, things like that. And then we set some default allowances on those. So everyone's allowed one 5-day calendar for students, and only a CTED is allowed certain calendars if they ask us to kind of override those values. So there's a few different forms for that. There is this access request form, and that's for after September 1st, if you're doing like a perfectly normal thing, like you thought you had an AM and PM kindergarten, but you've only uploaded one of the two so far, you would send in that form to request access to the API so that you could submit the PM calendar, like that. It's this other one, this additional calendar request form is if you need kind of additional non-primary calendars, like a 1-day CTED calendar or something like that. So I expect maybe, I don't know, 10 LEAs over the course of the entire year to use the second form, whereas I expect maybe 1 and 2 LEAs to use this one. So this one's a really popular form. Most people just need to edit the calendars that are there. If there's a weather day, or for example, if you need to contract with a new private day school halfway through the year, this is what you would use to insert a calendar for that. We also moved the forms for requesting like prior year calendar corrections here, and documentation about AZEDs is here as well. So hopefully that helps kind of centralize it a little bit. We'll do the same thing with entity data, like name changes and grade approvals and things like that. So hopefully that'll be good. Speaking of things that are good, here's a thing that is not good. So there's an awkward segue, I'm sorry. We've been looking at the data for October 1st payment, and it's pretty rough. And it's not rough in that LEAs have not been successful submitting. Almost all the ADM I would expect for fiscal year 2020 is there. A couple of districts have called in particular with kind of large systematic struggles, and so I have a list of them saying they're going to need to be paid on prior year estimated counts because they're having a pretty substantial technical roadblock to submitting. Our roadblock the past couple of days is we can't get data into the system for APOR and CHAR, so we're working with IT to kind of work around that. I kind of got plans A, B, C, and D on how to get the data there. So today is the day to figure out what that plan is. So let me quick walk you to our hot topic to kind of explain where we were 2 days ago. So back out to the home page. So our hot topic had been, there you go, payment 3, analysis and data sources. Our intention at the time was to say there are a couple of LEAs that are still struggling, and the data is not quite 100% where we want it to be, so we're going to do the same thing we did for the past 2 months, which is look at data LEA by LEA and try to make sure that everybody is paid on data that serves them the best. and that we were going to post the analysis for that by end of business today. I'm a little worried that we won't meet that deadline, so if we can't meet the deadline by end of business today, we'll put up a hot topic about that. But we're going to work pretty hard for that one today. So for me, end of business is 5 p.m. I hope to have a decision one way or the other by 3 p.m. It's not fun news, but that's where we are. We went through our inbox to kind of just see where we are. Our current inbox has 432 requests in it, and some of those are kind of back and forth questions. For example, I think I have a question about a non-online school serving online content to somebody and what's the precedence to do that. But there are a lot of requests in there to try and open a 915 for the first time, and a lot of requests to insert calendar and things. Because it was the week of September 1st and the week of right after that, we were really focusing on calendar first, so we went racing through those. But there are some still out there where people are waiting to be able to fix their calendars, but there's a lot for 915. So that's where my focus is for the next month or two, that and trying to make sure everybody's data for payment is in line. So hopefully that gets moving. Do you know, I think I have a question already from an anonymous user who may have been here over the summer. It just says suffix guidance, which I believe is a callback to a previous question about a student with, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's about a question with a student with a birth certificate and a passport, and on the birth certificate, the generational suffix is either in the same field as their last name or not, and on the passport it's different. So let's say my name was Sabah Hussein Jr., and on the passport my last name is Hussein Jr., and on my birth certificate my last name is Hussein. We agree that is a thing that is important enough to write up a policy and guidance about. In the short term, we do have a lot of very urgent issues going on, and so we don't have time to write that guidance. So we do advise you in the short term to stick to the birth certificate. It is Friday the 13th, so I am appropriately worried about, superstitious things, and so I stopped to get gas on the way into work. And then when I was getting back on the freeway, everybody was kind of blocking the two red little lights to stop the ramp were both off. It was a very strange day. It doesn't look like there are any other questions, so honestly, I'm gonna. Oh, there's one. Ooh, oh no, we got a new question. Sorry, I was stalling for a minute before I said goodbye for the weekend. Anonymous user is asking, we have a gender change, but not on the birth certificate. The gender change is on the passport. Is that an acceptable criteria to change gender? Honestly, I can't answer that quickly. I will store the question for when we sit down to write guidance. The only thing I've heard over and over and over is to stick with the birth certificate. So just as a knee-jerk reaction to this one, I'd say stick with the birth certificate, unless kind of at your local education agency you guys have a policy about kind of gender issues like that. So as a knee-jerk issue, I'd say birth certificate, but thank you for the question. I'll make sure to include it when we sit down to talk about generational suffixes and identity. Oh no! Okay, apparently this is a complex issue. So another anonymous user sent, I have the same issue. So just knee-jerk reaction, I'd say stick with the birth certificate. But when we sit down to write that policy about names and identities like that, I'll make sure to loop audit in on it so that at least you get a consistent experience between school finance and audit. Let's see, next week's ADE and school finance will be at the ASCUS meeting, the Arizona School Computer Users Group. But we'll be back on the 27th. Oh, one quick question, which maybe just someone came in late. Where is the spreadsheet about October 1st analysis? I covered it a little earlier in the slide. We're having a lot of trouble with one of our systems right now. We can't get the data to move. We're working with IT. We've got like plans A, B, C, and D to hope we get there. We were planning on publishing something by end of business today. If plans A, B, C, and D don't work and I can't publish it this afternoon, at least by 3 o'clock this afternoon, I'll have a hot topic telling you how far we got and what's the plan for Monday. So, that said, kudos to all of the LEAs. The data's looking much, much better this month than the past couple of months. So we'll be back on September 27th. Have a great weekend, or pair of weekends. And you can always reach my team in the interim.